Hello and welcome to A Day with the Cart Driver. We are on the summer 2015 season. Hi Day.
Hey, Scamp.
Hello. Day, I've got a question for you.
Oh,
Do you have any anime that you would describe as a guilty pleasure?
No, because I'm not ashamed of any anime that I enjoy.
Is there
In
any...
fact, actually, that is one of the things. I am very much adamantly against the concept of a guilty pleasure.
Is there any anime
Because I just disagree with the concept entirely because it implies that you should be ashamed of something that you're enjoying.
I guess.
I hate the term.
Is there
and
any
I don't use it.
Any anime that you think this is trashy and kind of garbage?
So I know what path you're leading me down here.
Yes.
You're trying to get me to mention Symphogear.
No, I actually wasn't the one I was trying to get you to mention.
Really?
We had Symphogear season. What season number are we on this season?
So this is the third season. This is Symphogear GX.
Okay.
But that's not its full title. I just can't think of its full title at the moment.
Burning, disappear.
No,
and
that was the first season.
Sorry.
Oh my god, get these right.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, we got a Symphogear noob. Actually, it's even worse. We have a normie over here who doesn't watch Symphogear.
How dare you insult me? I have seen at least 2.5 episodes of
A
Symphogear.
Symphogear non-watcher. How did we even get married? Will wonders never cease?
Perhaps like guilty pleasure then is the wrong word. Perhaps something that is like
Oh!
you would say.
Oh, I know what you're trying to lead me to.
Something that you would say.
But I'm not done talking about Symphogear. Can I loop back to it later?
Fine.
You're trying to get me to bring up either Prison School or Shimoneta.
Well, yes. Prison School.
Oh man, Prison School's a trip. Prison School... Wasn't he the author who did Me and the Devil Blues and some other ones? So this is a manga author who had done some very, classy, rather artsy type things before.
Yep.
That, were critically acclaimed, but I don't think sold particularly well.
I think that okay, but yeah.
That's why I said particularly. But then he did Prison School, which it's trashy as hell.
It is trashy, but in a strange, magical way. There is...
Well, it goes so full bore on so many things.
Yeah.
And it does things that you look at and you think, but this... It's the sort of thing that looks like it might be a fan service show on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely some elements that are, but then it does things that are genuinely visually horrifying. And I can't imagine that anyone sitting there who is into women looking at some of the events that occur involving the male characters and think yes, this is a turn on.
There's some of the framing of Prison... So Prison School is about a school which is run by the ladies there, and they put all the boys into...
Well, it's one of those...
prison camps.
It's your classic, we had an all-girls school, but we decide to bring in boys to it type situations. And, of course, as is usually the case in those shows, the girls are like, what the fuck, ew. The student council in particular is like, how dare they? But in this case, instead of being like, grrr, impotently, they're like, if you step out of line, we'll put you in a prison camp.
Yeah. And then the boys step out of line by attempting to peep, I guess. Some of the framing in this show actually reminds me, if anything, of Attack on Titan.
I was going to go with Junji Ito.
Oh, yes.
There are some very Ito-esque...
facial expressions and but framing and things like that. It is... honestly, the art in the manga and it's not even the art, just backgrounds and that. It's the framing of shots that I think, but doing this while, a girl shoves her underwear in someone's face while going, lie down, you scum, basically. It is a trip. It is amazing.
There's also a genuinely sweet love story in the middle of it.
Yes.
That like nothing else that surrounds it. Other than, actually, if I think about it, there's also a very touching story of male friendship.
Yes.
Involving the primary lead and
Diggle
this,
Sato.
like, totally ridiculous samurai otaku guy.
Oh god, this show is a...
I think he's Gakto, isn't he?
Yes. Oh, this show is a...
This is a show in which a boy intentionally shits his pants in class in order to allow for an opening for his friend to, like, sneak out, and there's something about solidarity in this, too.
It is a... You kind of need to see it to understand the majesty of Prison School.
It's so ridiculous. It's also definitely not for everyone.
Yes. And the reason I was bringing guilty pleasures, it's not that necessarily like I'm guilty that I like Prison School, but it's definitely the kind of thing if someone said, it's like, oh, would you recommend Prison School? I'd kind of I'd look at them and go, like, put my arm around them and go, let me just tell you something about life.
What?
It's not a thing I can recommend to anyone, because then they'll come back and be like, what the fuck did you just tell me to watch? In a way that not even Kill la Kill would be.
I'm thinking about this as a recommendation, and I am recalling that I recommended Kakegurui to a colleague at work.
Even Kakegurui doesn't compare. Kakegurui is probably actually the closest, but even that, Prison School feels on another level.
It's sort of, it goes in a less scatological direction.
Yeah, it's like, I want to watch you pee.
Although then again, never mind. Well, yeah, there is a sequence in which she's like, you have to pee in front of me.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to stand here and watch.
Yeah, someone gets speared in the rear with a stick.
Yes.
There's just... And I'll point out that most of the really horrible physical stuff that occurs, it happens to the male cast.
Yeah.
With the exception of the unfortunate vice president of the student council, who is... Her character design... Like, no one else in the show has that sort of character design. But then I think also, there are two characters that... Everybody in the show looks like normal character designs, and it's a much more realistic set of character designs in terms of resemblance to actual human beings than you typically get.
Yeah.
But there's two characters whose their designs, no.
The one, the vaguely Buddha guy?
There's the boy who... He's very large, and his face is tiny. And when I say his face is tiny, I mean, like...
His eyes and mouth.
His head would be normal sized for one of the other guys, but his facial features are just tiny and all scrunched together. And he doesn't resemble too many people physically. And then there's the poor vice president who has huge boobs and inexplicably just doesn't wear a shirt with her school blazer.
And nothing fits her correctly.
But she has a tie on.
Oh yes, of course. She feels like the guy was like, is this what your fetish is? Huh? Fine, I'll draw the most ridiculous ass character design ever.
And she's probably the meanest.
Yes.
And she's the one who inflicts the most, awfulness on our cast, but she's also probably one of the most sympathetic because just nothing ever goes right for her.
No.
She's the sort who, at one point she trips and her underwear gets stuck on the door handle, and this is while she's interacting with the president, who she either deeply admires or is in love with. The show never entirely commits, and her underwear gets stuck on the door handle and rips. Yeah. So she's the most sympathetic, despite being also the most sadistic.
Yeah. It is a...
I feel like this is not really selling the show, but it's hard to...
It's hard to sell because no matter what way...
It's so out there.
And then there's the principal of the school who has the, locker desk full of pictures of butts.
That's right.
He buries in the forest. And then there was, doesn't he have an interview with all the boys and they have to talk about how great butts are and that's what...
Yeah, he's, challenging them, are you into boobs or butts? And they know... It's pretty clear that if they pick incorrectly, then it's going to be it's all over, boys.
Expelled or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just... But then it also turns out the principal is the student council president's dad or her grandfather, and it's why she has such a terrible opinion of men.
Yes,
because she's like, he's a trash bag
who's just got pictures of butts plastered yes.
Yeah. It's, I talked in the last podcast about how Punchline is not as weird or as horny as it thinks it is. Prison School is exactly as weird, and
yes,
it's very weird. It's a little horny, but it's also sort of horny in the way that it's like, yeah, you like big tits? Well, how about now? What if we did this? And it's like, no, stop, please, I can't. One of the characters is like crawling through the sewer pipes at one point, and
the vice
president just decides to start doing squats, and he's like, oh God, she's gonna see me. And then to add insult to injury, the sweat starts dripping on him. He's like, I'm gonna die. He does not think it's a good thing. I suppose now, several years later, in our brave new world of anime fandom, I suppose that would be seen as like
Prison School was ahead of the curve. Prison School is...
It's what I would call an example of weaponized fan service. It is wielding it against the audience to a degree.
Truly one of the strangest and weirdly
You have to see it to believe it. It sold pretty decently.
Never got a second season.
Yeah, well...
It was I think because the author... this is the director who did Shirobako, of all things.
Very different things.
Very different things, yes. Who showed yet again that he's got an eye for horror even if he can't do horror anime. But yeah, continuing on the trend of very pervy, sexually thematic anime that kind of use the sexual imagery as a weapon is maybe more a tool of social commentary.
I'm not sure I would say that Prison School was much on social commentary.
No, that's how I was
saying. But the one you're about to mention, yes.
Shimoneta, a.k.a.
A boring world where the concept of dirty jokes don't exist. So, I will say this, the first episode is not very good.
I don't remember how it goes.
So, this is a show in which, it's a future Japan where everybody's fitted with basically monitoring devices to make sure they don't talk about sex.
Yeah.
Or look at sex, and porn is completely banned, and so...
Imagine puritanical depiction approaches to sex, almost like highly hyper-Catholic-y, puritanical Catholic-y approach to talking about sex.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it a bit ironic, though, to combine those terms, all things considered?
Yes. But yes, that kind of idea of sex, but then brought up to a government surveillance state.
Yes, and as a result, the teenage cast in the show, almost no one knows about sex, and they have no idea. Just none at all. Not even the slightest inkling. Not even the sort of state of being like when you were 11 or 12 and you sort of realized, oh, there's this thing that people do who are adults and they don't have clothes on. No, they just have no idea. And the first episode isn't great because there's a scene involving a train groper in which being opposed to pornography is conflated with
oh yes.
Basically, they try to...
Problematic anime.
There's a conflation very early on that drops away, though, and that's why I specify this in the first episode of, banning porn and falsely accusing people of molestation.
Okay.
But that drops away that's the bad, your initial scene, and then that drops out of it.
Yeah.
And it switches focus onto... wow, all these teens are losing their minds because they've been given no information about this puberty thing they're going through or about human sexuality, and it's warping them.
Yeah.
And some of them are pretty badly warped, but
yeah,
you have your everyday guy, and into his life comes this ridiculous girl who runs around in a sheet with nothing else on.
Underwear over her face.
And I forget what her, code name is, but she'll show up and just throw condoms or porn all over the place, and she's a rebel against the government, and she,
Yes.
of course, is going to his school.
She's basically part of a terrorist organization, but instead of blowing up
Yes,
stuff,
it's SOX.
and they drop pornography, and whenever they try to arrest her, she just starts yelling, you know, suck my dick, suck my dick, suck my dick. And
She also will flip up her sheet
Yes.
because everybody's like, oh my god, I can't look.
yeah, and they get so shocked they don't know what to do, and then she runs away.
Yeah.
It is.
She's great. I
She is-
love her.
She is a trip, because then you meet her and she's just like this revolutionary visionary who's just like, I dream of a world in which dirty jokes can exist, in which we can understand sex, and
she's not creepy about it either. That's what makes part of what makes the show work is that the cast is not creepy about it. And when someone does show up later in the show who is creepy, he's a villain.
yes,
And they realize that he isn't about actually educating people so that they understand their own sexuality. He's just in it for, the pervy thrill.
yeah, he's in there to take advantage of people and, well, basically rape people. Well, no, he's trying to get underwear, I think. But
Yeah,
then
he's
she's
into
like,
underwear
no,
stealing.
this is not a healthy understanding of sex. We just want to know what the hell sex is, and we're mature enough to we should be allowed to know what that is.
Yeah, he's just into stealing dirty undies.
Yes, I forgot about that. But here's one thing I do remember at the show is one of the characters then, who is the daughter of the principal / government.
Yeah.
She's
the one who's in charge of enforcing the
yes,
no sex, no sexuality statutes.
and her daughter follows pretty
So this is where it gets problematic.
problematic, putting it lightly. But she follows the same belief structure as her mom, to trying to enforce these same rules, until, I don't know, she gets touched in the fanny in one episode or something, and then she suddenly realizes, oh,
Well, saying she realizes, I think, overrates it.
she not realizes, but she's like, oh, I'm horny now, but I don't really understand what this feeling is. So
Yeah,
so then she feeds the main character cookies.
Oh god, I'd forgotten about
Yeah, this is what I remembered. She feeds the main character, who she's just fallen for, and we've kind of got this idea.
Oh, and he idolizes her a little bit too,
Yes.
because she's on the student council. She might be the student council president, and she's presented as this very idealized young
Yes.
Japanese lady. And
Yeah. But this lady, not understanding what to do with all her horny feelings, gives the guy cookies, in which she informs him, halfway through he's eaten one, by the way, that she has baked in her lady jizz into these cookies.
there's also a scene in which she flies across,
Flies off a cliff.
and she's spraying
Yeah.
her lady jizz, and it
She's
has a
squirting
rainbow
her way
effect.
down.
This sounds a lot more explicit than it actually is.
Yeah. This is a...
You never see any undercarriage in this show. In fact, you don't even see boobs in this show.
No.
For all that, as I said, it's not a creepy show, which is what makes it work.
Yes, it is a commentary on teenagers will find out about sex, teach them about it properly, or else...
They'll turn out weird and warped, and they'll act out their sexuality in ways that are not healthy.
Yep. It is a good... And it is
So we do also need to mention, she spends a significant amount of time trying to molest the lead character.
She's after him with a hoover.
Yeah, it's just,
A vacuum, sorry.
yeah. And
Then there's the character who, because they can't, the tracking device can tell if the hand is drawing porn or writing
pornographic stories.
erotic literature. So she learns how to draw with her mouth.
Yes, she has a pencil firmly clenched between her teeth, and she becomes a master at drawing yaoi.
Yep.
And she introduces yaoi to the masses at their high school.
Yep.
Yes, and it's a show that, too, it acknowledges that, both boys and girls are interested in sex.
Yep.
It's got a good cast.
And then there's the scene, so there's
You're gonna give it all away.
the scientist girl who...
She's the one who learns how to draw using her teeth.
No, that's the one who's got the dead eyes.
Yeah, that's the scientist girl.
No, the author. The author is the lady who's got a penis-shaped head.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, they're different characters. The scientist is she's looking at animals, going I don't really understand what is going on here. but I need to share my findings with the world. And so they convince her to show a scene of two fireflies.
No, they're regular old flies.
Mating. And this it
But they dub it over.
They dub it over with them going, and it causes the entire...
Oh, the entire school, basically. They have no idea what's going on, but they also are like, why do I feel... What? And,
Yes.
yeah.
There's always this one girl who they always show in these scenes going, oh my god, yeah!
And even though it's one of those shows where it's one boy and a lot of girls, there's really no hint of romance with anyone.
Not really.
You know, there's the student council president being weirdo toward him, but other than that... But yes, I really liked the lead.
This is a strange
The
anime.
lead girl.
It's a light novel, and it's one of the strangest... This was a strange show for porny stuff. And that was this season. No, not really. Let's go on to... So these were...
Should we just hit the other porny stuff?
There
There actually isn't as much as in some seasons. The big one
Oh, yes.
is absolutely Monster Musume.
Oh.
Or Everyday Life with Monster Girls, which was huge.
Dude, and like one of the best-selling manga abroad. This was... I think this originally started... Because I've actually found these, no question, please do not ask me, of like Everyday Life with Monster Girls, basically not single panel, but like short manga stories of the dude hanging out with monster girls, and he has sex with them, but it's just like, but also just like weird slice of life stuff happening. But the thing that this sticks out with is it's, you know, about as porny as you can get without them actually having sex. It's pretty...
It opens with a scene that they're trying to trick you into thinking that sex is occurring, but then it turns out that it's just the primary monster girl is, you know, I know she's some sort of mythological beast, but I don't know the name of... She's a lamia, that's what she is, which is basically snake woman. And it's not that they're having sex, it's that she's squeezing him too much with her body, because that's what she does.
Yeah, and then in order to get her to let go, he started jerking off the end of her tail.
Oh god, I've forgotten that.
There's a lot of boobs in the show. This is so like, if you get the uncensored version, it is just like boob city. But this thing
is
was...
that like Wife City?
Yeah, yes. But it was, not only was it huge, but the thing that I think makes this show stick out compared to so many other ones is how unapologetically monstrous the girls... Like, they had boobs and stuff, but like, this is clearly a monster girl. She is clearly a snake. This girl is clearly a harpy.
This girl is clearly a centaur.
It's like, we are going to show you a horse fanny, and you are going to deal with it. This lady has 8 eyes and a spider legs, and you are going to be horny for her. We make no bones about this.
Boning, yeah. By the way, folks, because I think that not all of our audience are necessarily familiar with what the slang fanny means in the UK and in Ireland, because it's different than in the US. In the US, it's butt.
Yeah.
That's all it is. In the UK and Ireland, it's vagina, folks.
Okay.
So, just clearing that one up.
Yeah, this was a show of... And this was a pretty big show. So was Prison School, Shimoneta less so. But yeah, this was a season of the uniquely pervy anime.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, I just remember now. Yeah, 2016 in general was a show that just had 2015 in general was a year that just had a lot of like really trashy, but like weirdly unique,
compelling yet trashy.
Yes.
Okay, now we gotta. So because you insisted on us mentioning this at all, let's just. Why don't you knock out Bikini Warriors?
Oh, that was just. I was gonna just make a joke about Bikini Warriors being this like. It was basically like, hey, do you know the way in video games the girls always wear like bikini armor and that's it?
Or in Victory Gundam.
Let's make a show where that is all that they wear. That is our only joke. Okay, bye.
So yes, we've dispensed with that.
I think that's it for super pervy stuff.
I mean...
Hello, boys.
That wasn't pervy. It was just... This was ASMR the anime before people knew what ASMR was.
Do you want to watch a very attractive boy pillow talk with you.
This is your show.
Yeah.
Also just known as Pillow Danchi.
Pillow. Anyway.
It's a short.
So probably the biggest show this season. It certainly ended up actually having quite a lasting impact. There's definitely a big audience for this. Was Overlord, which was
the biggest show this season.
I mean, probably months and months.
So the biggest ones this season, I would argue, are probably Overlord, Matsumu Sume, and Gate.
Gate. I don't know about Gate. The light novel was. Anyway, but anyway, Overlord. It was an isekai, and it was the first of the. I would say Overlord kickstarted. So there was like Sword Art Online came out, and there were a couple other things, but Overlord I felt kickstarted the modern. Overlord is when the floodgates opened.
I also think Overlord is where you start moving toward having the more adult isekai type stuff.
So Overlord was about a guy he was kind of a loser, but he had a group of friends who all played an MMO with him, and they all made characters together. They made an evil dungeon and so on. But everyone else had left the game, and the game was going to shut down. He was very sad about this because he had no other friends. He was like in his early 30s and dead end job. And then he wakes up and, oh no, now he is the evil skull.
Well, it's also much... I actually thought this sort of worked the way they introduced it, because it's... So he and his friends who still play the game, they gather for... They're shutting down the servers. And
no, that's the thing. No one else gathers. Oh no, they do, you're right.
There are other people who gather, and they're like, hey... Oh, it's too bad. Well, maybe we'll see each other on another game, and all the others log out, and he doesn't log out. He's the last one there, and then he is, he decides to mess with some of the stats a little bit for fun, and then he, drops unconscious or something, and then it turns out, oh, crap, wait, what? I can't log out.
Yeah. It's also really clear that the people who come back to the game are all like, oh wow, well sorry, my kid is crying now, I need to go back. It's clear that he hasn't moved on in a way everyone else did. Yeah. So it actually gives
and he's a somewhat unusual example at that time in that he's not trying to get back to his world.
No. He feels like he should be, I think, is one thing that's very clear about it early on. He's also somewhat unique in that, and this was certainly unique for the time, which is that he doesn't go to an isekai. He's not an isekai. He's not going to other worlds as himself. He's an evil skull overlord. Yeah. He Ainza Ul Gon or whatever his name was. Which I think that tone makes a lot of the early episodes really, really work. It's got a kind of melancholy feel to it, because it's just kind of, this man has all this power, but he's just kind of lonely and sad. Yeah.
Ended up having 3 seasons?
Yeah, it's been a huge hit.
It's done. It's one of those ones that I think, though, of as being... especially with subsequent seasons, I feel like it's not as big as some stuff that has continued to be has been.
Not as big as Sword Art Online.
Well, I mean, that's sort of like saying it's not as big as, I don't know, the Burj Khalifa. Yes. But...
it's been a fairly big hit. I'd actually watched all of season 1, but I sort of lost interest towards the end because they stopped being about this kind of lonely guy trying to figure out, how do I make myself my way in the world now?
Well, and also, too, there's definitely this kind of amusing gap between what he's actually like as a person and what his character type is in the game. Yes. Because his character type is like, skull, evil, and he's the sort of guy who at the very end of an MMORPG changes one of his pretty followers' game stats so that she has a crush on him and is like, hee, that was funny, I'm silly.
Oh, there's one thing where they meet a character he designed and he gets this secondhand embarrassment of, oh god, why did I create this loser? Please stop talking, I feel embarrassed by this guy's existence. But the problem is it becomes far more about just the world itself, and the world is just not interesting. None of the characters they create are interesting because they're all just like, oh, Ainzul Gun Sama, you are so wonderful. That all that stuff is boring as hell. So I lost interest. But there's something to it. I hold no ill will towards Overlord, unlike many of the other isekai.
So, speaking of holding ill will toward isekai, here's a somewhat unique example, Gate.
Gate. We've mentioned this in the past. This one it's actually kind of fascinating because the plot is a world, portal opens up to a fantasy world. The fantasy world all invades, but because they're all using like swords and shields and stuff, Japan all shoots them with guns, and then they go and invade the world back again. And basically the whole thing, but they like invade the world, but are there to like, we're going to be,
It's very colonialist.
It's colonialist, definitely. It's them going, we're going to set up a land here, we're going to have diplomacy with these regions, we're going to help them with our military, because it turns out we have helicopters and you don't. Like, they full on have a Ride of the Valkyries helicopter scene at one point. Like, they play Ride of the Valkyries.
The author is hyper-nationalistic.
It is a piece of propaganda for basically reinstating the Japanese military. That is what it is.
Well, and also Japanese imperialism writ large.
And it's really, really clearly that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's definitely there was a trend of light novels trying to be basically really right-wing light novels, like Mahoka being the most famous example. But Gate is probably more unique in the sense that, one, it's more clear. Two, it's more direct. Like, it has a very specific goal in mind rather than just kind of generic racism, basically. It's much more clear. And three is that it's actually really well made. The writing's actually quite good, which makes a lot of the kind of... It's why, ultimately, like, whereas I look at Mahoka and say, Mahoka's just shit on every level, Gate is actually, like, rather well made. It's actually... Like, because there's the military come in, but the military has, like, men and women and treats them both equally. It's like... It's not a feminist paradise, but, it's like...
Yeah, I'd say some of the treatment of women overall is not super pissa.
But only of the women who are the kind of the ones that are being imperialist about. The women in the military are treated actually really well. Like, there's one scene in the ending song where they have all the girls in the bathroom. It's like, oh, yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, fine, show. And then the instant next scene is all the guys in the bath, all with their shirts off, going, yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. It's, that's the thing that kind of makes it really interesting. It's very well animated. But, again, that Ride of the Valkyrie scene, and this one sticks out to me because of how the original Ride of the Valkyrie scene was a criticism of American exceptionalism during the Cold War, right? It was like, we are so far beyond you, and we are going to glorify our military, but also say, God, isn't this horrifying? Right? That's because what's that? Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
But in this scene, it is completely played 100% like,
Apocalypse Now, which, by the way, itself suffers from... it's trying to move beyond it, but it also itself suffers from fairly colonialist attitudes. Yeah.
But, so that's the thing, is that in this thing, in Gate, that scene is done 100% unironically. They are celebrating this attack of the helicopters, shooting down these people with spears and bows and whatever. It is a piece of imperialist propaganda, and it's quite fascinating as a result, and very well made, but...
You've said that a few times.
It is very uncomfortable. Yeah. Anyway... but yeah, we've got more light novels this season, and this one actually...
This is straight up fantasy, as opposed to an isekai.
Yeah.
Rokka, Braves of the Six Flowers?
7.
7 flowers, sorry.
7, yes. Can you name all the characters?
No, but that's okay.
What the main character is the strongest man in the world, self-proclaimed.
Yep.
There is...
Anyway, let's actually say what the premise is. So... The premise is that there are these 7 people who are picked as braves, as warriors, to go fight the bad guys in a sort of Mesoamerican setting.
Yeah.
The setting, I really like the setting, because it's very unique in anime. If I really, crawl through my brain and try to think of another example, the only other example I can think of that's similar is Nazca, which is also garbage.
And old.
Well... Yeah. Yes, it's old garbage. So I really like the setting. And anyway, so there's the 7 braves, and they're all supposed to meet up, and they have to travel into basically demon territory to go beat the demon overlord. But 8 people show up.
Oh, yes.
And then it's like, wait, one of us is an imposter, but who is it? And then they end up getting stuck basically in a closed area because of an accident that occurs. So they're all stuck in this fairly small area, and they need to figure out who the imposter is because it's probably the only way they're going to figure out how they can get out of the area and go take care of the demon lord.
And then it turns into a mystery.
I think it is 6, but 7 people show up.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, you're right.
And so the lead, he ends up in prison at the start of the show because I forgot what stupid thing he does, but he is broken out by the Princess of the Empire, Nashatanya. I remember her name because it was fairly unique. And she's one of the Braves and he's one of the Braves, and they go off.
Yeah.
And so the remainder of the show is about, it's
a mystery.
Yeah. And I would say that I really enjoyed this show, and I think it's a really good show for the most part until, the final episode.
Yes.
Because the reveal, it's one of those things where you end up they had to warp a character's from what they had been presented as into something totally different in order to make it make sense.
You remember the cowgirl that shows up at the end?
Oh, that's the other thing, too. Then, at the very end, another person shows up and is like, oh, I'm a brave, too. And it's like, oh, guess what?
The ending is one of the worst endings this entire decade. The rest of the show is really good, though.
I still think it's totally worth watching. I loved the rest of the show. It's just the ending's pretty bad.
Just the characters there. I've got Nash Tanya. There's Hans Humpty.
Oh, God.
The cat guy who's got his coding. He's kind of psychotic. Please remind me the name of the girl with the eye patch with the black stripe across her as a bra.
God. By the way, this is a show where it's equal opportunity boob bandage.
Oh, yeah. The main character has it. And a lot of girls were really into Hans Humpty as well, I remember.
There's Shammy, who's the little girl who you realize is probably the one who's the most powerful.
Yes.
And her power ends up being rather bizarre.
Yes.
I'm not going to spoil it.
God, oh no, what was the girl with the gun? Oh, it was
Flamey
Flintlock or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then there was,
She was great because it was so clear the show had the hots for her and was but she was so... Oh, she was great.
And then there's the woman who's probably in her 30s or so. I think she's just Moira.
I need to look up these characters again because I remember they were such a wild band.
I really liked this show a lot.
I didn't realize you liked this quite as much.
The ending is really? But I really liked this show, and I think it's worth watching.
I'll admit the ending made it so that I've done my anime of the decade I love. The ending is enough for me not to pick this anymore. But yeah, it was a fun show.
By the way, the cowgirl's her design is horrible.
The ending of this show was so bad. But yeah.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that's the author had one good idea.
Yeah.
And then I guess things went well enough that they wanted more of it, and he didn't have any other ideas.
Yeah. This was also a light novel as well. And not a good, well-selling light novel, so this anime was kind of a surprise. And it was by a relatively new studio as well. Yeah,
so it got rough visually at points later in the show.
Yeah.
But I was a little more willing to be...
charitable?
Because it was a studio that was new, and I liked the setting and the visuals enough in terms of design that I was willing to overlook that. It was also
clear they had storyboarded above and beyond what their animators were capable of. So they had these really dramatic, dynamic action scenes that they just couldn't animate.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Or they didn't have enough people to animate, at least.
It was a fun show, actually. You're right. I think the ending just burned me too much to say too much pot. And I think some of the stuff with Flamey in particular was a bit eye-rolly.
Well, yeah.
But, I like
I'm sure that in a different era there would have been Linkin Park AMVs. So.
Oh, yes.
But, okay, we gotta keep moving, though, because we've still got a bunch of shows to hit.
A couple of manga hits this season, such as Umaru-chan.
Oh, yes. So this is Himoto Umaru-chan, which is an Emoto show, except instead of your Emoto being cute or pliant or whatever, she's actually a shitbag.
She's a weird little gremlin creature, I think.
So in her public life, she presents herself as like this, oh yes, very accomplished and proper young Japanese woman, and she's like admired at school and everything, and then she comes home and she instantly morphs into a gremlin, and I mean she really does instantly morph into a gremlin. She becomes like a third of her height, and she blobs out, and she's just horrible.
Yeah.
And she's really into anime and
video games,
just otaku crap in general, and she's just trash.
And wears like a bear onesie and...
Yeah, she's trash, and she and her brother live in it's basically a one-room apartment with a kitchenette and everything. And, he works, and that's the show. It's her being horrible a lot to her brother, and your enjoyment of this show is going to hinge entirely on how you feel about Umaru.
Yeah.
She's horrible, but I kind of appreciate that she's horrible and that the show knows she's horrible, and also that the show doesn't think that it would be great if there was something going on between her and her brother that was incestuous.
Yeah, oh yes.
This is not an incest show at all.
I think you should watch the OP, specifically the one scene where Himosho is surrounded by lots of other Himoshos as she plays the maracas.
Yes, that's the one that I think probably might be the...
Yeah.
If you don't know about the show otherwise, you might be familiar with that particular scene. Yeah, it's just... for one season it was fine. I know they made a sequel, and it was just like,
Yeah.
I'm good. And it's definitely one of those shows you're watching, and you're like, as you're getting later in the season, you're like, oh, you're running out of ways to have like, look, she's being trash again. So you're trying to come up with some more substantive storylines. Yeah.
Other manga hits, and this one was a quite well received. It was Snow White with the Red Hair, which was by Bones and was adapted from a quite highly regarded, I believe it was a shoujo manga.
Oh yeah.
It was a fantasy novel about a girl who's like, I kick ass and do my own stuff.
Well, she is, what would you call them? She's whatever you call a person who does apothecary stuff.
Yeah, pharmacist.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
She's a magic pharmacist. Well, no, she's not magic. She's just in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
I think I watched a couple of episodes. It wasn't really my sort of thing.
No. It's very, very
It's
keen.
well made.
Yeah. It's very keen on demonstrating, like, no, you see, this girl's not like them other girls. Because, like, they've literally, like, the opening shot is her going to the forest. Then she's going to, like, pick a flower. But then she picks up some, like, ugly stuff instead.
It's like a mushroom or something.
Yeah.
But I seem to recall she got kidnapped a decent bit.
Oh, yeah. But every time she gets kidnapped, she's all like, I'm going to kick you. I'm going to show that I'm so much smarter.
Yeah, she's not... The thing is, she's not around kicking butt.
No, she's like, but I'm not.
She's very capable, though.
Yeah.
I think it's how I would put
There's
it.
like a prince, because the thing is, like, there's like a Prince Charming and everything who like shows up and is like, but then he always gets flustered while she like saves him by being smart.
Yeah, this is... I mean, I appreciate that it was something that looked at things and instead of... Because I think sometimes, I mean, there's the whole thing about the strong female character type and the issues with that, but she is a sort who, instead of just, using brawn, she uses her wits.
Yeah.
I didn't really do anything for me.
Me neither. Another show, and I also know that this one was also quite big amongst women. Gangsta, which had a hell of an OP.
Didn't it also fall apart production-wise?
Maybe. I think it was by Manglo, but the last thing they did before they went bankrupt.
Yes, and in fact, I don't think all of it aired this season. Didn't they end up having to, like, a couple of the episodes came out later? It may have been with there was something weird going on with the home release. Like, they ended up canceling it partway through, and I don't know.
It's kind of like Black Lagoon, I think is the closest thing I compare it to, because it's just set in, like, a crime-ridden city. The main character evidently has something wrong with his voice, because they do sign language and stuff for him. But he can talk, he just sounds like this.
I thought he was deaf.
He might be deaf.
I think he's deaf.
Yeah.
He's deaf, and that would explain why he might sound a bit strange.
But yeah, I think
to
he has
our
scars
ears
across his neck. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he was deaf.
You might be right. Yeah, so they use this sign language stuff, but the other male character in the show is also a male prostitute. There's a lot of prostitution, a lot of death, a lot of...
It's one of those sort of gritty shows that I don't think of as getting made as much.
Yeah, that's why I compare it to...
It's like urban grit type stuff.
That's why I compare it to Black Lagoon. That's definitely the closest thing it's compared to. Or
Banana Fish.
It was mildly successful in the West. I know, but I think it's just because of the circumstance surrounding its production, I'm not sure they saw much of that money ultimately. But yeah, I know, because the author actually like put out a bunch of things saying, "Oh, thank you to all the Western fans. It's actually really nice that you guys like it," and it was particularly amongst women as well. Yeah, it's quite gritty, edgy kind of show.
You know, I want to say there's just the barest possibility. Maybe not though. This is something that would have run though, so because Banana Fish ran in a shoujo magazine. This is something that in the past may have run in a.
I think. I wish I knew.
There's definitely this stripe of stuff that's for the shoujo crowd. That's this grittier, urban type stuff.
It's like Banana Fish type stuff. Yeah.
Wild Adapter's another example.
Yeah.
Not one that anyone's heard of anymore, but
I'm not sure it did. I think it ran in one of those magazines that is like seinen for girls type stuff, which is like, but specifically runs this kind of stuff. But I'd have to look it up. Yeah. So what else did we have this season? Ooh.
Well, okay, there was a big one that neither of us dug or really watched, maybe.
I remember
Did
nothing.
you? Charlotte. So Charlotte was PA Works, and it was Jun Maeda. And as I recall, with the caveat that I didn't watch this myself, it's like, what if Angel Beats, but with a lot of much more random crapola shoved in for no reason. This is a show that like has time travel introduced partway through. It was a mess. It
seemed like it was quite big at the time.
Oh god, it was huge at the time. But I mean, so was Angel Beats at its time.
Angel Beats, I feel like, is remembered more than Charlotte.
Oh god, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things with Charlotte is I don't think it's available for streaming anywhere at this point. So it's not as easy for people to go back to. Angel Beats is still, I think it's still available.
I think they relicensed it recently.
Well, I think it sells pretty well, even if it sucks.
Angel Beats is okay.
It's not. It's not.
Angel Beats is okay.
It's not.
It has
mawkish crapola.
It has TK.
Oh, wow.
It's good.
A guy who has maybe a total of 5 minutes of dialogue, and it's all him saying random crap in English.
I know, isn't he amazing?
Anyway.
Angel Beats is good when it's not being mawkish.
Which is not much of the time,
no.
Unfortunately. Which is why one of the OVAs, which was just pure comedy, worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, Charlotte, though. Psychic kids at a special school. Also, the main character is, hey guys, guess what? He's an asshole. Root for him.
But that's all Jun Maeda stuff. It was Clannad.
True.
It was canon.
It's worth pointing out that so you have to keep in mind though, the canon adaptation, how they adapted that, Yuichi, the lead there, go back and look at Kyon.
Oh yes.
Because you don't get him without Kyon, because he was not quite like that in the visual novel. That's not to say he wasn't totally like that, but that was definitely him filtered through Kyon.
I think Canon and Kyon and Haruhi aired in the same year, so I don't know how much you can say one hand without the other, but it was definitely... So you're saying maybe Kyoani brought...
I think they turned up the snark factor a bit. I'm not saying it was never present.
Yeah.
But they definitely... You can see the influence there. Or you can at least see the character type that they seemed to dig at that time there. Yeah, but I want to say he was introduced as being especially asshole-ish, not like snarky, but just you're a jerk type thing. Yeah, it's Psychic Kids. It's the usual Jun Maeda. I really don't have anything else to say about it.
Because neither do I.
Okay. Well, let's move on to something quality like Aquarian logos.
Oh gosh.
We've got to talk.
Do we have to talk about Aquarian? So I love love Aquarian Evolve. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch Aquarian Logos, and it's garbage.
I mean, it's not the same person who did
No.
the original Aquarion or Aquarion Evolve.
No.
The character designs were weird. Like, their faces were really pinched together.
Yes.
There was a girl who looked like a sheep.
Yes, you're right. There's nothing memorable about it.
It doesn't look good. The other thing is, too, because Evolve was all like, bright colors, neon, yeah. And this just looked really dingy.
I remember being kind of colourful. That wasn't an
No,
issue.
it was not colorful in comparison to Evolve. Anyway, it was crap.
Ooh, can I...
We've dispensed with it.
I watched all of Classroom Crisis.
Oh?
Do not ask me what this was about. I do not remember.
I remember it was about, like, a classroom where it was, venture capital, and you're gonna try to build shit.
It was a venture capital teenage boy who then went to teach a school, and then all the girls were like, wow, you're an asshole. But then, like, I don't remember what else happened.
They probably all fell in
I
love
think they
with
tried
it.
to build a rocket, or was it a car? I wrote about
I mean,
this.
according to Elon Musk, it could be both.
Yes, anyway. It's by Elon Musk as a teenager teaches a class, and it is not as good as it sounds. I also want to...
How does that sound good?
I want to talk about something else that sounded good on paper, which was Chaos Dragon, which was the author of Bakano and Durarara, with Butch Gen, with Nasu from Fate, with some guy who wrote Garbage.
Nasu. Yeah,
Yes.
Nasu from Fate is the guy who wrote Garbage. Oh!
No, well, I mean a guy who wrote
Oh,
Garbage.
wasn't this the one that they, like, it was their RPG?
They played D&D together, and this was the story they made. And you're like, oh wow, that sounds truly bizarre. What does this create? And what it creates is the most boring ass generic crap fantasy story ever. It's like completely forgettable but nothing worth talking about. And you're like, how did so many people come together to create something so boring? And basically, so what I'm saying is D&D sucks. Like,
Okay.
anyway.
So, something I did like a lot, Wakako Sake.
Oh god, yeah.
So, this was a short.
Yes.
It's about a woman who goes out to eat and drink.
Yeah.
And it's soothing, okay?
Yeah, I actually like, what is the thing she says every time she eats something?
Pshoo, pshoo. And
pshoo.
she really enjoys the way that the food is made. She's like, yes. But it's not obnoxious like some foodie type stuff can be. Because she herself is, it's pleasant, okay?
It's bar food. It's after work bar food. That is very specifically Japan. Very Japanese.
And she's a working woman, and she goes, and she just is like her moment of the day.
Yeah.
It's when she decompresses.
It's actually quite a nice little show. It's very easy just
I remember watching this in a hotel in Montenegro.
Oh, so something that we've skipped over, but like genuine.
Oh God, okay. We missed something that was pretty big and also was good.
And good and really memorable and like kind of, I wouldn't say caught a lot of people off. Well, actually, it did catch me off guard a little. Was Gakko Gurashi, aka School Live, which I almost don't want to spoil. If you haven't seen it yet, fast forward through the next 2 minutes and then just go watch the first episode because anyway, spoilers begin now. School Live is like, oh my god, it's all these cute girls in school together. Ho 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 ho. Oh, it turns out that the reason they all think they're in school is actually the zombie apocalypse happened.
And one of the girls is delusional because she can't put up with the trauma that she's witnessed.
Yeah.
So she thinks they're still in school and she's had a psychotic break. And the rest of the girls have not had a psychotic break, but they're trying to manage her psychotic break without causing another psychotic break.
And in part because she's one of the few joys they still have in their life. So it could be, she's the thing which lets them think. Because there's like scenes of her going to class and then it cuts to the classroom and it's just like...
The windows are broken. The desks are rotting.
The OP gradually changes over time. It is... And I just remember there just being like really weird things. Like, they had the escape in a... They have one scene where they had to go to the local shopping centre, so they pretend it's a school outing, but then they have to drive away in the Mini Cooper.
Oh, I thought it was a Volkswagen Bug.
A Volkswagen Bug, yes. It's something like that, yes. It is a...
Yeah, and they work pretty hard to keep up the charade with their friend who's had the psychotic break so that she doesn't catch on that, oh, actually, there's flesh-eating zombies wandering around.
Also, the teacher. Do you remember the whole story with the teacher?
Yeah, but don't spoil it.
Yes. Yeah, this is
It's pretty good.
It was, like, genuinely...
I think that a lot of anime horror is terrible. This is a rare example where I'd say it's very good.
And, like, yeah, it's kind of cheesy. Not cheesy, but, like... How would you describe it?
There's a couple of things toward the end that is a little cheesier, but it's built up enough goodwill at that point that I don't think it is... It's not as bad as it could be.
And I think, no, maybe what the thing he's looking for is, like, it's a bit edgy. Like, oh, you think it's this, but it's actually the zombie apocalypse.
I don't think it's excessive, though.
No, but I can see why people... Because there's definitely people who think that. I think people who like this are just people who are into edgy stuff.
Why don't you just leave the bug there? Because it keeps going back.
It's annoying me.
I know, but it means you keep leaning forward and creaking.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, anyway. But yes, it's good. If you like horror, you'll probably dig it.
Yeah, I actually really like this as well, yeah.
But
most of everything this season that we
my god, I told you I was going to go back to Symphogear GX because you didn't let me talk about it earlier.
Symphogear.
But let's just... Two quick things. Anthem of the Heart and Boy and the Beast they were in theaters this season. Neither of us has seen either one of them.
No.
I know they were big at the time. I don't think I've heard anyone mention Anthem of the Heart in years.
Yeah. Anthem of the Heart was, what's her face?
It was a bunch of the Anohana folks.
Yeah, making a movie.
Symphogear GX, Season 3. This came actually 3 years after the second season. And I think part of why it got made was that the first season, the second season, they sold respectably, but not anywhere near what this sold. And I think the reason they made the third season, though, was they did a re-release of the first two seasons. And those sold more and brought the per-disc average for the second season up to about 12,000 copies a disc. And then this got made. And this is where you saw Symphogear take off. Because this sold 14,000 something copies.
Oh, wow.
This was its per-disc average. And it has every subsequent... Symphogear is one of those weird examples where every subsequent season has sold better than the previous. So the second season sold better than the first, etc. Now, granted, season 4 sold like a few hundred copies on average more than the previous one, but still, it's an unusual trend. GX might be my favorite season because they integrated some of the cast who showed up in the second season into the main group, and it worked really well. This is also the season where you have Dr. John Wayne, the Velociraptor Vertigerus, blah, blah, blah. He's known as Dr. Ferris. And he has excellent lines like, "I will be history's last action hero." G was a big step up from the first season, but I think GX is really where it comes into itself with just like that Symphogear spirit. I love GX.
Yes.
I love all of Symphogear, though, to be fair. But, yes, that was the season.
Yeah. God, picking an ending song for this season is difficult. Because there is the...
Pillow Boys and Aquarion Logos.
Thanks. There's, like, the Umaru-chan opening. There is the Gangsta opening. There is the Gaku Gurashi opening.
Daisuke.
Oh, God, that is that one, isn't it? We'll probably play that one. Anyway.
Oh, no, I know which one you should play.
Yes.
The Shimoneta ending.
Oh, yeah. Fine.
Alright, folks. We'll see you next.
And we'll have to cut that short, unfortunately, because last time I uploaded this to YouTube, apparently the intellectual property of the SOX Shimoneta ending is too valuable and my video got taken down. So instead we're just going to finish out with me talking at you. Alright, we'll see you next time. Bye.